This is the CitizenLink report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on donate. Thanks from all of us. What do you do when what your public school is teaching about relationships is out of sync with God's design for relationships? We have some help for you. This is the CitizenLink report. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, along with Candi Cushman, who follows education issues for us. Hi, Candi.
Hi, Stuart.
You know, these days, as we like to say once you get to be my age, schools are no longer just focusing on math and reading. That's been true for a long time. But in recent years, we're also seeing many schools working to change the values of young people in the classroom.
You know, they really are, and it's just so hard for parents to stay on top of it because a lot of times these controversial sexual subjects, they're just no longer relegated to sex ed. Now there's really a big push to move it in to all kinds of subject areas across all different grade levels.
And Candi, you brought a few examples of what parents are seeing in the classroom.
Yeah, well, this is how this kind of stuff ends up in something besides sex ed and math class, for instance. There is a curriculum or a lesson plan materials out there called Ready, Set, Respect. This is created by one of the largest homosexual advocacy groups called GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. Let me just give you an example of what they recommend for educators. Write math problems with context that include a variety of family structures and gender expressions. And so the example they then give is give a math problem about Rosa and her dads going to the grocery store.
Dads, plural.
Yeah, so it's very Orwellian for very young kids to just start familiarizing them with the whole idea that a family has a new meaning now, same-sex relationships. Let me give you another example. Another thing that we're seeing, books like these are how you end up with this going past sex ed. This can be promoted in the form of anti-bias lessons, and anti-bullying even, tolerance, diversity. This is a book about a boy that likes to wear dresses, and this is a book promoting same-sex marriage. It features 2 male guinea pigs. So we're seeing more and more of this, of books being used to kind of get inroads into very young kids' minds.
Yeah, many parents are probably overwhelmed by this and unsure of whether to respond or how to respond if they choose to. What's your advice?
Well, my advice is that we've got tools for parents on truetolerance.org to make it easy for them to figure out where to go. Because like you said, it can be overwhelming. I don't even know how to get started looking into what's happening in my local schools. I mean, where do I even begin? And so the good news is that we've put a new free resource on the website, truetolerance.org, for parents. And it's a downloadable how-to kit. Cool. It's called Empowering Parents. And it's basically divided into 2 sections. It's got a really easy, simple checklist that tells you where to start looking, like the school website, for instance.
And this is to find out what's happening at your school.
And then the next part is tips on how to respond, what to do, how to approach your school officials if you do see something of concern.
Let's talk some more about that checklist. What else is on there?
Well, like I said, an easy place to start is just to go to the website. We've got some suggested keywords that you can enter that will give you some indicators if there's reason for concern or not and whether you need to start asking questions. Another good place is the school library catalog. Most schools have their library catalogs online nowadays, and so the library is really a reflection of the curriculum at the school, and it's a place where teachers often go to supplement what they're doing. So if you see a lot of sexually explicit or violent books coming up that conflicts with your family values, it's okay to ask, how is this book being used in the school? Another place to check is your school policies. Does the school allow you to opt your child out if there's controversial teaching? Do they allow you to have an alternate assignment for your child? Look in advance at that kind of thing, and if there's not protections for you and your child in there, then that's something to start talking to school board members and elected officials about. I
think many parents are probably concerned, but a little unsure of whether to step into it, in part because they don't know who to talk to, and they don't want to go in and start, creating a scene. What's a proper way for parents to go in? What is the right way to go? Who do you talk to, and how do you approach it?
Right, well, we always recommend that you do follow the chain of command. So just look on your website, your school handbook, and see who you're supposed to start with. Most of the time, it's going to be the teacher or the curriculum director. And you just want to make sure that you don't want to burn your bridges by jumping over their head and going right to the superintendent or the school board. Not only that, but they're probably going to tell you, oh, you didn't follow the policy, so you're going to have to start over again.
Right.
And so you can save everyone's time and have good relationships by following the procedure. And then there's things you can do, if you are ignored.
Now, that's good advice for parents. We also have a lot of grandparents, aunts and uncles who watch our videos here. What's your advice for them? Is there anything they can do?
Well, I am glad you asked that question, because we do have an action center on truetolerance.org, and it's called Make Your Voice Heard. So even if it's not necessarily your children, if you're the grandparent or family member, or just a concerned taxpayer that wants to know what's going on in the schools and wants to help safeguard children's innocence, go to this section, our Make Your Voice Heard section, and you'll find that a lot of what we're talking about today is in professionally compiled packages that you can email directly to your school official from this Action Center. And you can just say, this is just something I'd like you to check out, look over, and then get back with me.
Very good. I want to give you a chance before we wrap up just to look right into the camera and talk to the families at home, if you will, and offer them some encouragement on this topic.
Well, Stuart, I think it is easy for parents to feel intimidated. They feel alone. And first of all, I don't think it's really the case that you're alone. I think there is that silent majority out there that are feeling just like you and afraid to make their voice heard. But I think when you have parents that maybe are uncomfortable with something coming in from their school, like that's from Planned Parenthood or GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, those feel like big, well-funded groups.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in New York, and you just feel small compared to that as a parent. Well, first of all, you do have more power than you realize as a parent, because you actually have more of a say in what's happening in your child's school as a local taxpayer than some outside group that's far away. And I think that's illustrated by what happened with the parents in Erie, Illinois. Erie, Illinois is a really small rural community. I mean, we're talking 1,500, 1,600 people.
Yeah.
And there was a curriculum that tried to come in there. It was a homosexual advocacy curriculum for elementary level. And you know what? They made their voice heard. Just a few moms and dads found out what was going on, raised the alarm. The school board voted against it. And they succeeded in that despite tremendous pressure coming at them nationwide. So you know what? You have power as a parent. And that's what our website's about, empowering you and equipping you to make your voice heard. And you can read about more stories like those parents too. Just get encouragement.
And it's so important to realize that what we're asking for is reasonable. Mm-hmm. It's not out of the question or something that shouldn't be considered. It's a very reasonable request. These are our children we're talking about in our local public schools.
That's right. I mean, we're talking about common sense things here, that parents don't send their kids to school to get lessons about redefining the family or rethinking what it means to be male or female. They're there to get the basics and academics, and considering that even our education secretary has said there's a graduation rate crisis, that is a common sense, reasonable argument.
All right. Candi, thank you for your insights and for tracking this for us.
Thank you, Stuart.
And we appreciate you as well. Thank you for dropping by here each week. We love hearing from you. If you'd like to write to us, you may write us at mail@citizenlink.com. You can send your questions, your observations, your comments, your criticisms. We're open to all that. We do read every message that comes in. We don't always get to respond to each one. We encourage you to pray for parents across the country as they're trying to navigate through this difficult terrain. Pray that they'll have wisdom, clarity, and insight, and also the courage to stand up and talk about their kids and their concerns that they have for their own children. And remember, stand tall and be heard.